A girl saw a game about elevators on the internet. It is said that as long as you press the elevator floors in a specific order, you can open the door to another world. The girl was very curious about this, so she specifically found a building where not many people lived, and started the elevator game alone. As the elevator reached the first floor, the girl felt everything was normal. She even had time to make faces at the phone that was recording. This was repeated 5 times. Finally, it was the turn of the legendary 5th floor. It is said that after the 5th floor, a woman will appear in the elevator. If the player dares to look back at this time, they will be torn to pieces on the spot. After pressing the button for the 5th floor, the girl immediately closed her eyes tightly, hearing the sound of the elevator opening. She didn't dare to open her eyes, just hoping that the elevator door would close soon. But the elevator door was reluctant to close. There was even a gust of cold wind. The girl gritted her teeth, forced herself to open her eyes despite the fear. In front of her was just a pitch-black corridor. There was nothing else. The elevator door closed at this time. The girl took a long sigh of relief. Now as long as she presses the button for the 1st floor, the elevator game will be over. But after pressing the button, the light in the elevator started to flicker non-stop. She was so scared that she dropped her phone on the ground, and the elevator did not descend to the 1st floor. Instead, it went up to a higher floor. The girl squatted down to pick up her phone, but she touched a stranger's foot. The girl was completely panicked at this point. She frantically pressed the button to stop the elevator, but it was of no use. At this time, the girl heard a song coming from behind her. She carefully lifted her phone, only to find that there really was a woman behind her, and the elevator stopped at the 10th floor. When the elevator door opened again, the girl inside had disappeared. The girl's experience quickly spread on the internet. A group that specializes in studying supernatural events became very curious when they heard about this. They also knew about the elevator game and thought that the girl might have gone through the elevator game and went to the rumored other world. So they brought their equipment and prepared to play the elevator game again in the building where the girl disappeared. The professional team is different. They installed a high-definition camera in the elevator right from the start, and then arranged for 3 people to play the elevator game. Another 3 people were watching the monitor outside the elevator. The game started soon. The 3 people in the elevator were talking and laughing. They didn't feel scared at all, but they didn't know. As the game progressed, the monitor outside seemed to be interfered with, making it impossible for the people outside to see the situation inside the elevator. And the 3 people also reached the most critical step at this time. The next floor is the 5th floor. The game rules say you can't open your eyes when the elevator door opens on the 5th floor, and you can't look back after the elevator door closes. Otherwise, you will be torn to pieces by the woman on the 5th floor. The elevator soon arrived at the 5th floor. The elevator door was open for a full 2.5 minutes, as if waiting for something to get on the elevator. At this time, one of them opened his eyes and took a peek, but he didn't know that this action would bring him a disaster. Perhaps because there were still people who didn't break the rules. The 3 people actually returned to the 1st floor unscathed, just as the others were discussing the elevator game. Lisa, the only one in the group of 3 who didn't break the rules, found that the elevator door hadn't closed for a long time, and there was a woman's soft humming coming from inside. But before she could figure it out, the elevator door closed, and at this time, the security guard of the building also found them, and drove them all out. But Nick was still lingering outside the building, unwilling to leave. It turns out that the girl who disappeared before was her sister. In order to figure out the truth about her sister's disappearance, she waited until the evening to sneak into the building and experience the elevator game herself. The man pressed the button for the 1st floor, but found that the elevator did not go down. Instead, it went straight up to the 10th floor. Outside the 10th floor was not a rooftop, but surprisingly, a main road. But he had carefully observed it outside in the morning. This is just an ordinary building. Although Nick was scared, but in order to find his sister, he still decided to investigate here. It turns out that 2.5 years ago, a rumor about an elevator game began to circulate on the internet. As long as you press the elevator buttons in a specific order, you can go to another world, and his sister disappeared from the world after the elevator game. Now Nick has come to the legendary otherworld through the elevator game. He found that this place is indeed all red, just like the rumors, except for the huge letter X in the sky, and on the street that was just empty. A shadow suddenly appeared. Hello? Seeing the terrifying appearance of the shadow, Nick realized this shadow was very likely the woman on the 5th floor from the rumors. She was so scared that she hurried back to the building, frantically pressing the elevator. Just as Nick was fleeing, people came to the building in the real world again. They were the remaining 2 people from the Spirit Exploration team. Among the 6 people in the morning, they hadn't played the game yet, so they took advantage of the night to sneak in and play a game. After they entered the elevator, they also pressed the floors in order, all the way to the 5th floor, until the elevator door on the 5th floor opened. They didn't remember to close their eyes. They even broke the rules and greeted the woman on the 5th floor. The careless 2 people died like this, but the death of the 2 people also helped Nick, allowing him to successfully escape from the other world, and the camera that the 2 people left in the elevator before also made Nick understand the horror of the woman on the 5th floor. He wanted to make a phone call to contact the companions who had played the elevator game during the day, but he didn't know that the woman on the 5th floor had already found him. The man rushed into the restaurant, picked up a bottle of salt on the table and sprinkled it directly on himself. He thought he had successfully exorcised the evil, but as soon as he turned his head, he found that the female ghost was holding him tightly. His actions scared the other people, and he was directly driven out. Jack was extremely scared and hurried home without stopping. Just as he was about to take the elevator upstairs, he thought of the female ghost that was brought by the elevator game before. To be safe, he still chose to take the stairs home and sprinkled a circle of salt on the floor at home and added a candle inside. Then he called his friends Lisa and Nick and told them the situation. Nick had also experienced Jack's situation, and without saying a word, he entered the salt circle. But Lisa refused to enter the circle and kept saying she wanted to call the police. Nick realized that Lisa knew something. After repeated questioning, Lisa finally revealed the information she had found. It turns out that more than a decade ago, there was a girl named Ellie who was locked in the elevator shaft by her companions as a prank. Her companions said they would come to pick her up in an hour, but the companions got drunk and forgot about her. Ellie was trapped in the elevator shaft for 2.5 days. When people went to work on Monday, the activated elevator directly crushed her. Resentment made her a ghost in the elevator because several people had played the elevator game, but they were all too scared to complete the game, so they were hunted down by Ellie, although they had a solution. But at this time, Ellie had already chased them home. Several people saw Ellie stopping outside the circle and thought that the circle could restrain her, but the next second, Jack was caught by Ellie and was killed on the spot. Nick and Lisa didn't have time to grieve and immediately rushed into the building, wanting to complete the elevator game and send Ellie back. They came to the blood-red world again. Then the 2 of them returned to the elevator again. As long as the elevator returns to the 1st floor, then the elevator game will be completely over. But they didn't expect. The elevator did not continue to descend, but stopped on the 5th floor. Ellie was not ready to let them go. The elevator game was her most painful memory. That blood-red world was the last scene of her life. Anyone who dares to play the elevator game will make her relive all that over and over again. So once this game starts, it will never stop. 2.5 years later, another internet celebrity heard the rumors and came here specifically to livestream the elevator game. He doesn't know what kind of nightmare is waiting for him.